Chapter 1. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I was in love with Chloe Davis, the beautiful girl from the wrong side of the tracks. I bought her designer bags, funded her startup, and helped her escape her parasitic parents. I even paid off her high school sweetheart, a huge sum to send him to study abroad. Later, she got pregnant and we got married. It seemed like the natural next step. I never imagined she would sell my company's secrets to our biggest competitor. The company went bankrupt overnight. The shock was too much for my parents. They passed away, one after the other. When I confronted her, demanding to know why, I walked in on her with her old flame. Together, they killed me. As my life faded, she stared down at me, her eyes burning with a hatred I'd never seen. "You're the one who made my family abandon me," she hissed. "You used your money to steal my love. This is what you deserve. I wanted you to feel what it's like to lose everything. Oh, and by the way, the baby isn't yours. Now you can die in peace." I died choking on my own rage. Then I opened my eyes. I was back on the day I funded her company. I stared across the conference table in the university's student incubator, my head spinning. There she was, Chloe Davis, young, beautiful, and completely unaware of the monster she would become. It finally sank in. I was back, reborn on the exact day I signed away my future for her. In my first life, I fell for her the moment I saw her. She was kind, hardworking despite her poverty, and so different from the other girls. A delicate flower weathering a storm. She was a light in my otherwise predictable life. I started pursuing her, knowing I was just the backup plan, the nice guy she kept on the sideline. And I was fine with that. I was happy to just be in her orbit. I knew she was broke, so I'd load up her meal card, buy her clothes, and shower her with luxury gifts she'd never dream of. I gave her the seed money for her startup and even hired people to deal with her toxic, deadbeat family, who only ever saw her as a meal ticket for her younger brother. I wrote her high school boyfriend a check with enough zeros to make his head spin and sent him off to a university in Europe, just so she could be happy. Of course, the moment he landed, he found a new girlfriend and dumped her via text. She called me, drunk and sobbing. We spent the night together. After that, we were a couple. Soon after graduation, she was pregnant. We got married, and I brought her into the family business. Just as I was starting to believe in our perfect future, Chloe leaked our most sensitive trade secrets to a rival. The company imploded. We were ruined. The vultures descended. My father, facing a hostile takeover and public humiliation, jumped from his office building. My mother, her heart already weak, couldn't take the blow. A massive coronary took her a week later. She was gone before the paramedics even arrived. After their funerals, I went to find Chloe, to find any reason for the destruction she'd caused. I found her in bed with him, the ex I'd paid to disappear. They overpowered me, and as I lay bleeding out on the floor, I asked her the one question that haunted me. "I gave you everything. I loved you with all my heart. Why?" Her face was a mask of pure hatred. "You're the reason I had to cut ties with my own parents. My brother barely speaks to me because of you. You used your money to take away the only man I ever loved. Now you've lost everything, just like I did. It's karma. And I'll let you in on one last secret. The baby isn't yours. Now you can go to hell." The injustice of it all consumed me as I died. But somehow, fate gave me a second chance. I looked down at the investment contract on the table. The terms were beyond generous. They were suicidal. A massive injection of capital into her shell of a startup with zero oversight or restrictions. It was an obviously insane deal. Last time, I was such a fool, so blinded by my obsession with Chloe, that I didn't even read the fine print. I just signed. I drained a huge amount of capital from my family's primary business to fund her little venture, causing significant losses even then. My parents never said a word. Not a single word of blame, even at the very end. Thinking of them, a fresh wave of rage and regret washed over me. I had failed them so completely. My gaze shifted from the contract to Chloe. She was looking at me with a familiar expression of disdain, her voice laced with annoyance. "Ethan, who gave you the right to interfere with my family? My parents and my brother won't even talk to me now. Are you happy? Don't think for a second I should be grateful. I hate that you try to control my life." She gestured at the contract. "I'm only agreeing to this on a professional basis. Business is business. This doesn't mean we're together. You can't use this to force me to be your girlfriend." I stared at her arrogant posture and entitled tone, and felt a dull ache in my chest. This pathetic shell of a company didn't even have a proper office. The nerve of her to talk to me about business is business. She wanted to have her cake and eat it, too. This time around, someone else could play the fool. Mr. Henderson, our family's longtime advisor, stood beside me, his face tight with concern. Mr. Grant, this is a significant sum of money. Perhaps you should reconsider. Chloe shot him a death glare, her patience wearing thin. Ethan, just sign the damn thing and wire the money, then get out of my sight. Don't bother me again. When the company starts turning a profit, I'll cut you in for your share. Who did she think she was, Beyoncé? I looked her straight in the eye and slowly, deliberately tore the contract in half. You know what? You're right, I said, my voice calm. Business is business. And since you're so clear on that, I'll need to conduct a proper due diligence review of your company's potential. For now, the investment is on hold. The room fell silent. Chloe stared at me, her mouth hanging open. I smiled. Mr. Henderson, let's go home. I'm suddenly craving Mom's famous ribs. Chloe couldn't believe it. I had never, ever said no to her. The guy standing next to her, however, paled and tried to block my path. Mr. Grant, wait. Just take another look at our projections. I promise you, an investment in our company is a guaranteed win. If you're not happy with the contract, we can renegotiate the terms. I recognized him instantly. Kyle Miller, Chloe's greedy high school flame, one of the two people who murdered me. Before I could say anything, Chloe tugged on his arm. Kyle, why are you begging him? Our concept is brilliant. If he passes, it's his loss. He'll be kicking himself later. She was as pathologically confident as ever. I wondered how successful she'd be this time, without me paving her way. I couldn't stand to look at either of them for another second. I pushed past them and walked out of the room. As a Rolls-Royce pulled away from campus, I got a call from the student government president. Ethan, my man, I submitted the application like you asked. Chloe's startup gets free use of the main conference room for the rest of the semester. Pulled a lot of strings for you, dude. You owe me one. Don't worry. I'll make it up to you, I said. But plans have changed. Don't give the space to Chloe. Just hold it for me. I'll let you know who to give it to later. I hung up and felt a grin spread across my face. So, Chloe Davis fancies herself a business genius? Let's see her genius her way into finding office space without my connections and my money. Dream on. When I got home, my parents were waiting for me in the living room. Seeing them, alive and well, I felt my eyes well up. Last time, my selfish obsession brought a wolf into our home and led them to a tragic end in their old age. The thought was a knife in my gut. Dad, Mom, my father gave me a stern look. Robert Miller is not qualified to be the CFO, Ethan. Your insistence on promoting him is absurd. I don't care if you throw a tantrum. I won't approve it. Seeing my choked up expression, my mom immediately turned on him. Honey, don't be so hard on him. Dad sighed, waving a hand in surrender. Fine, you always spoil him. I'll do what you want. Promoting Robert Miller? It all came flooding back. It was Chloe's idea. She convinced me to push for her boyfriend's dad to get a top spot at our company. What a disaster that had been. Now that I was back, I wouldn't be so reckless. Dad, Mom, you're right. We shouldn't be playing favorites. It's bad for the company. Let's drop it. My parents looked at me, surprised by my sudden change of heart, but they didn't press the issue. At dinner, my mother asked cautiously, So, how are things with that Davis girl? I looked up from my plate. It's over. I'm not interested anymore. They exchanged a skeptical glance. I couldn't blame them. I'd built up such a reputation as a simp that it would take more than one day to convince them otherwise. The next day, as soon as I walked into class, Chloe cornered me, her face flushed with anger. Ethan, you're disgusting. You had them revoke our access to the conference room just to pressure me, she seethed. You go back to the student government right now and tell them to give it back to us, and maybe I'll forgive you. I almost laughed. If you want the conference room, apply for it yourself. I'm done helping you. She looked at me with contempt. You're so petty. Well, for your information, a major client reached out to me a few days ago. I'm about to sign a huge deal. You're going to regret this. Did she really think some big client was interested in her vaporware startup for its potential? I couldn't be bothered. I just waved a dismissive hand at her. She stomped her foot in frustration, but, seeing she couldn't move me, spun on her heel and stormed off. Once she was out of earshot, I pulled out my phone and made a call. That corporate sponsorship for the student entrepreneurship program, the one we were going to give out, cancel it. You got it, Ethan. I watched Chloe's retreating back with a cold smile. She wanted to build an empire this time. She could build it in hell. The exclusive rights to the conference room were already secured, and I knew exactly who deserved them. I was sitting in a private booth at a quiet diner off campus, studying the girl across from me. It was hard to believe that this shy, quiet girl with the oversized glasses would, in a few years, create a battery management software that would revolutionize the EV industry. She would become a tech titan, one of the most respected innovators in the country. Right now, though, she just looked nervous and unassuming. I got straight to the point. Zoe Chun, I know you've developed a piece of software. I'd like to talk about a partnership. Zoe ducked her head. If you want it, you can have it. For 20,000. No, 10,000 is fine. My grandmother needs surgery, and she can't wait. Could you pay me up front? I immediately drafted a contract on my laptop. A partnership agreement valuing her software at $10 million, with a 50-50 profit split. I asked about her grandmother's situation and called Mr. Henderson to arrange for her to be admitted to the best private hospital in the state, all expenses covered. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Thank you. But I have to be honest, I've pitched this software to a dozen companies. They all turn me down. You're a good person. I can't let you get ripped off. Looking at her genuine decency, I couldn't help but think of Chloe. I'd moved heaven and earth for her in my past life and never got so much as a thank you. Here, a simple act of decency had earned me this future billionaire's profound gratitude. I really was blind the first time around. We may have just met, but I've heard about your work, I said sincerely. I believe in your research, and I believe you're going to be incredibly successful. Here's to us. Zoe looked at me, her eyes shining with a newfound determination, and nodded firmly. Just then, I heard familiar voices from the booth next to ours. Chloe, we can't afford to rent an office right now. Why don't you just play along with that simp Ethan for a little while? Just long enough to get the conference room back. It was Kyle. No way. Chloe's voice dripped with scorn. I have a killer project. I was going to do him a favor and let him in on the ground floor, but he had to be an ass about it. If he hadn't been kissing my feet for so long, I wouldn't have even offered. He can screw himself. He disgusts me. A pause. Then, by the way, what's the status of my dad getting that CFO position? Don't worry, Kyle said confidently. Ethan's just a puppy on a leash. I tell him to jump, he asks how high. He'll do whatever you want. They were talking so loudly, without a care in the world. I heard every word. My hands clenched into fists under the table. So that's what it was. Robert Miller, the finance guy, was Kyle's father. No wonder Chloe was able to get her hands on our company's secrets so easily in my past life. It was all planned from the beginning. Zoe had heard it too. Her face was red with anger, and she looked like she was about to march over there and give them a piece of her mind. I put a hand on her arm. Hey, getting angry won't solve anything. Back home, I dialed a number I knew by heart. Chloe's deadbeat, gambling-addicted father. Mr. Davis, hello. I wanted to call and apologize for my past behavior. I realize now that I'm an outsider, and it was wrong of me to interfere in your family matters. Yes, that's right. I can promise you I won't get involved again. Chloe hated it when I was overbearing, right? Well, now she could have all the quality family time she wanted. Let's see how she handles them on her own. As for Kyle's father, I had my dad put a security team on him. Let's see how he planned to steal our secrets this time. After class a few days later, they found me. Chloe stood in front of my car, blocking my way. Why didn't you promote Kyle's dad? Do you have any idea how much that promotion means to Kyle's family? You call your father right now and tell him to make him CFO. Wow, the subtle hints were gone. Now it was just a blunt demand. Demanding a CFO position for a guy who wasn't qualified to manage a lemonade stand. Knowing they were plotting against me, that they wanted to use him to destroy my family. How could I possibly let them get control of our finances? I fought the urge to roll my eyes. Why should I? Why would I listen to you? Chloe froze. I continued, my tone matter of fact. It's my family's company. I'll do what I want. If it's such a big deal for him, his dad can always quit. Kyle's face darkened. Why should my dad quit? It's you capitalists who are exploiting your workers. My dad is incredibly talented. You should be grateful to have him. You're the ones who need to correct your mistake, not my dad. He couldn't find a better job if his life depended on it, but he framed it like he was some kind of crusader for justice. I laughed out loud. Spare me the lecture. Tell your dad if he wants to work, he can work. If not, he can get the hell out. I turned to my driver. Let's go. In the rearview mirror, I saw them both fuming, helpless to stop me. 2 days later, Chloe's parents showed up at the university. In the middle of a lecture, in front of the entire class, Chloe's father marched up to her desk and slapped her hard across the face. You worthless girl, he roared. Running off to college when we found a good husband for you back home. You've shamed me in front of the whole town. You must be whoring around here with some boy. That's why you won't come home, you little slut. Chloe was stunned, her hand flying to her cheek. Her eyes, wide with panic, darted to me, pleading for help. I sat perfectly still. Now she remembers me? Where was this desperation a few days ago? She said she wanted her family back. Well, they're here. Why is she crying? Her father clearly noticed me. The rich kid everyone knew was obsessed with his daughter. When he saw I wasn't moving, he grew bolder, hitting her again and again. Chloe finally broke, sliding to the floor and begging her mother for help. But her mother just wrung her hands. Honey, just bear with it. Your father's the man of the house. A woman's job is to obey her husband. You can't go against his wishes. And she leaned in conspiratorially. Old man Hemlock from the next town over might be 50, but an older man knows how to take care of a woman. And your brother's got a girlfriend now. As his big sister, you have to do your part. Her speech left the entire class in stunned silence. Whispers erupted. I heard from someone back home that her dad's a gambling addict. She ran away to come to school. They've been looking for her for a year. So, a deadbeat dad, an enabling mom, and a mooching brother. What a train wreck. Yeah, but why isn't Ethan doing anything this time? Did the simp finally wake up? In the end, Chloe wasn't dragged back home. Her father was, by the campus police. A few students who followed them to the station reported back that for him to be released, Chloe would have to drop the assault charges. Otherwise, he'd be held in custody. When Chloe returned to the classroom, she buried her face in her arms and wept. A few minutes later, her mother stormed in and started hitting her. You little bitch. You got my husband thrown in jail. I should have drowned you at birth. It would have been better than you sending your own father to prison. You get down to that police station right now and sign the papers to get him out. If you don't, you're no daughter of mine. Chloe looked up, and as if suddenly remembering something, her eyes flickered toward me. Mom, I'm begging you. Don't make me marry him, she pleaded. I'm working on a huge project right now. I promise I can make enough money to pay for my brother's wedding. Please, just don't let Dad take me back. After a long argument, and after agreeing to drop the charges, Chloe finally convinced her mother. But as her mom was leaving, she added one condition. When your company gets going, your brother will come and help you run it. It's always best to keep the money in the family. A few days later, once the bruises on her face had started to fade, Chloe asked to meet me on the athletic fields. Her face was still swollen, but it didn't diminish the arrogance in her voice. Ethan, you win this round. I'll make a concession. I admit what you did with my family was heavy-handed, but your intentions were good. I forgive you. We can go back to how things were. You should feel lucky. I wouldn't do this for anyone else. We're best friends, after all. I was speechless. The sheer audacity of this woman was almost impressive. To twist things around to sound so righteous. So, her family beats her half to death, and now she remembers my good intentions. She wants my help, but she frames it as her magnanimously forgiving me from on high. I roll my eyes. I'm not getting involved with your family anymore. We're just friends. It's not appropriate for me to meddle in your personal life. Chloe stared at me. But you always, I cut her off. I'm just so happy to see you finally reconciled with your family. She looked like she'd swallowed a rock. Ethan, I know you're just doing this to punish me. She snapped, her voice rising. You're hurt, and you're trying to force me to be your girlfriend. Well, it's not going to work. You become so cruel. I'm really disappointed in you. She took a deep breath, puffing out her chest. I'm telling you, once I make my first $1 million, I can pay for my brother's wedding, and all of these problems will just disappear. Well then, I wish you the best of luck, I said, turning to leave. Still dreaming, huh? I smirked and walked away, leaving her fuming in the middle of the field. After that, my life finally found a sense of normalcy. Besides my regular classes, I started getting more involved in my family's business. I was gradually earning my parents' respect and shaking off my old reputation. Zoe hired a few other work-study students to help her finish the project, and everything was proceeding smoothly. One day, the university announced a major interdepartmental robotics competition. A lot of students were excited, but building a competitive robot required a significant budget. I didn't sign up. Zoe and I were in the final stages of our project, and we were sitting on a potential gold mine. But then, the competition's organizing committee contacted me directly. Mr. Grant, for the robotics competition, the high-end components and assembly materials you selected come to a total of $55,000. We'll need payment soon so we can place the orders. I frowned. I didn't sign up. Why would I owe you anything? The staff member checked her clipboard. Let me see that. I took the form from her, a grim suspicion already forming in my mind. Sure enough, there it was. Honorary Team Captain, Ethan Grant. And under team members, two names stood out, Chloe Davis and Kyle Miller. I almost laughed in her face. Whoever signed this up is the one who owes you the money. And while you're at it, please cross my name off this list. Thanks. The staffer walked away, looking confused. The gossip started immediately. Is the simp finally evolving? That afternoon, Chloe and Kyle hunted me down. Ethan, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Chloe accused. You're trying to stop us from competing. Kyle is one of the most brilliant and ambitious people I know, and now he can't participate because of you. This is all your fault. Do you have any idea how important this is for him? She held out her hand. I order you to pay the materials fee right now, and I'll forgive you. Also, you said you were going to buy me the new iPhone, right? We could also use some extra funding for the project. $20,000 should cover it. I'll graciously accept the phone as a down payment. The new iPhone? 20 grand? She had some nerve, framing her demands as a gift she was bestowing upon me, all while maintaining that insufferable air of superiority. Where was her shame? I threw my hands up. I'm using a phone myself. And besides, I thought you didn't accept handouts. I wouldn't want to tarnish your principles. If you two want to compete, pay for it yourselves. I'm not your dad. I have no obligation to support you. I looked her dead in the eye. 20 grand? Do you think you're worth it? Chloe was taken aback by my tone. I know you have a crush on me, and you're just jealous of my relationship with Kyle, but you can't force feelings. If you really want to prove you're better, then pay the fee and let us compete. Let the best man win. Kyle chimed in, his voice dripping with self-righteousness. You were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, Ethan. That's just luck. It doesn't give you the right to sabotage Kyle's future, preventing him from competing over a simple fee. It's despicable. I stared at them, dumbfounded. All I did was refuse to be their personal ATM, and suddenly I was blocking his path to success. The shamelessness was breathtaking. Arguing with people like this was a complete waste of time. My expression turned to ice. Are you insane? You should see a psychiatrist. Stop coming around and bothering me. Seeing that he was getting nowhere and had lost face, Kyle grabbed Chloe's arm. Chloe, let's go. These rich people just look down on us. Chloe nodded in agreement, lifting her chin defiantly. Registration closes next week. You still have time to fix your mistake and change my opinion of you. I hope you cherish this opportunity. Don't make me lose all respect for you. Her eyes flickered to the phone in my hand. And don't forget the 20,000. Wire it to me as soon as possible. Every time I thought she couldn't sink any lower, she found a new way to surprise me. I said, my voice heavy with meaning. Instead of worrying about a robotics competition and a new phone, you should be worrying about yourself. Your brother's coming to manage your money soon, remember? Where's that big contract you were so excited about? I leaned in. If your brother doesn't see any cash when he gets here, you'll be marrying a 50-year-old cripple for the bride price. A shiver went down Chloe's spine, and her face went pale. Her parasitic family was a wound that never healed. The reality of her situation was finally starting to sink in, and she suddenly remembered that the big client she'd been bragging about had gone completely silent. No, that's not possible, she said, shaking her head frantically. He was a huge supporter of student startups. He wouldn't just ghost me. I smirked. Why don't you call him right now? See what he has to say. Some people need to hit rock bottom before they'll ever see the truth. Under my amused gaze, Chloe's hands trembled as she dialed the number. Hello, Mr. Peterson. This is Chloe Davis. We spoke about the advertising contract. What? It's off? Why? You were so enthusiastic about our company. What changed all of a sudden? On what grounds? Hello. She lowered the phone, her face as white as a sheet. She looked at me, her eyes wide with disbelief, and swayed on her feet. That client you sent him, didn't you? And you told him to pull out. Why would you do that? Do you know how much that contract meant to me? I've never done anything to you. Why are you trying to ruin me? Ruin her? She had her own twisted logic where anything that didn't go her way was my fault. You two should seriously get your heads checked. There was no point in explaining anything to them. I left them with that and walked away. Thump. Behind me, I heard Kyle yell her name. Chloe had fainted. I didn't look back. I just walked faster. Chloe's startup was dissolved. The rumor was that when she closed the company, there wasn't even enough money in the account to cover the bankruptcy filing fees. She had to borrow it from other students. The once celebrated campus entrepreneur had fallen from grace overnight. She was forced to take a part-time job as a waitress at a diner near campus. Kyle, who was used to spending lavishly, had to get a job there too. They were barely scraping by. One evening, Zoe invited me out to a popular local barbecue joint to celebrate her grandmother being discharged from the hospital. While we were waiting for our food, we saw Chloe and Kyle sitting on the curb across the street. They were splitting a loaf of bread, taking turns biting into it. A few minutes later, Chloe, now in a waitress uniform, brought a tray of food to our table. Her eyes immediately locked onto Zoe, who, free from her financial burdens and filled with new confidence, looked like a completely different person. Chloe's gaze turned hostile. Ethan, who is this? She demanded. Just because I won't go out with you doesn't mean you can just pick up some random girl to make me jealous. This is pathetic. You're treating your feelings so casually. I'm so disappointed in you. She rejected my affection, but still felt she had the right to control who I saw. The audacity was incredible. Get lost, I said coldly, or I'll file a complaint with your manager. Chloe's eyes filled with tears, which began to stream down her cheeks. She just stood there, staring at me like a wife catching her husband cheating. Zoe looked down at her hands, saying nothing. Just then, Kyle limped over, grabbed Chloe, and dragged her in front of me. He looked haggard and beaten down, a far cry from the arrogant jock he used to be. He stood before our table, bowing his head obsequiously. Mr. Grant, I was an idiot before. I'm here to apologize. Chloe, what are you waiting for? Apologize. He was acting like a total suck-up. Chloe stood rigidly, her jaw clenched. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? Kyle's face contorted with rage, and he slapped her so hard she fell to the ground. Know your place when you're talking to Mr. Grant, he snarled. Now get up and tell him the truth. Tell him you still have feelings for him. Chloe struggled to her feet. She stood beside Kyle, her head bowed, completely submissive. The fight was gone from her. She had completely lost her dignity. Kyle said with a smug grin, See, Mr. Grant, you just have to be firm with her. She'll learn to listen. The bizarre, abusive dynamic between them made my skin crawl. Sorry, I have a girlfriend, I said, gesturing to Zoe. And you two look perfect for each other. Kyle wasn't ready to give up. You don't have to give her a title or anything. Just an extra girl to have some fun with. It's a good deal. And cheap, too. Only $5 million. Hearing him try to sell her to me, Chloe didn't object. At the mention of $5 million, her eyes lit up, and she looked at me with a glimmer of hope. She actually seemed to want me to buy her. These two were disgusting. My expression hardened. Get out of here. Stop trying to gross me out. I'm not interested in your sick games. If you don't leave now, I'm calling security. Seeing my resolve, Kyle slapped Chloe again. You useless bitch. This is all your fault. His violent outburst was eerily similar to her gambling-addicted father. I looked at Chloe. She always claimed she hated being abused. Yet here she was, not even trying to fight back. Could it be that some toxic patterns are hereditary? Did she secretly crave this? Was the reason she betrayed me in our past life because I never hit her? The thought made me sick to my stomach. Well, Chloe and Kyle were locked in their toxic dance now. Good for them. But I celebrated too soon. A few days later, Chloe found me on campus, looking deeply uncomfortable. Ethan, I've done a lot of thinking, she began, avoiding my eyes. I've finally realized that the person I've always loved is you. Kyle, he's an abuser. He doesn't deserve my love. There was a fresh bruise on her cheek. She was clearly repulsed by what she was doing, but she forced a smile, trying to be seductive. As I studied her, she looked down, flustered. It's true. You've always liked me, right? I can be your girlfriend. I booked a hotel room for tonight. Will you come? This was a trap. I couldn't figure out her angle, so I just played along. I'll think about it. After school, my dad called me. You know how you asked me to keep an eye on Robert Miller in accounting? I thought you were being paranoid, but you were right. I'm sending you the security footage. Take a look. The video was high definition with crystal clear audio. The camera was close, capturing even the voice on the other end of the phone. It was Miller talking to Kyle. Kyle, you said you had a way to get me that CFO position. It's been weeks, and I haven't heard anything. We hit a snag, Dad, but we got a new plan. Kyle's voice was slick. And I have some news. Chloe's pregnant. You're gonna be a grandpa. Now, can you wire me some money? Miller's voice shot up. Pregnant? How far along? Just found out. Dad, this is our golden ticket. If this works, the Miller family will inherit a billion-dollar fortune. Are you serious? We've got it all figured out. We're gonna drug Ethan, get Chloe to sleep with him, and record it. In a few months, she'll tell him the baby is his. Once she has him wrapped around her finger, we can play the long game and inherit the Grant family fortune. If they get suspicious, we'll just have her grab some company secrets and sell them. We'll be set for life either way. The video ended. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. These people were pure evil. So that's how our secrets were leaked last time. It really was Miller. And no wonder Chloe was acting so strange. It was all a setup. I called my dad back. Let's play their game. We'll spring the trap on our terms. Once my dad had everything in place, I contacted Chloe. I got the hotel and room number from her, and my dad immediately dispatched a professional security team to sweep the place and set up our own surveillance. We were ready. At 10 p.m., I arrived at the hotel room. The lights were dim. Chloe was wearing a flimsy, see-through negligee. I could faintly see the bruises on her skin. Kyle must have worked her over pretty good to convince her. She handed me a glass of red wine, then downed hers in one gulp. I turned away, and in a motion she couldn't see, I poured the contents of my glass into a nearby potted plant. I turned back, pretending to have finished my drink. Chloe visibly relaxed. Soon, she became flushed and disoriented, her skin burning hot. The drug was kicking in. I knocked her out cold and laid her on the bed. Then I went to the adjacent room our team had booked. At dawn the next morning, Mr. Henderson knocked on my door. Sir, she's about to wake up. I slipped back into her room and lay down beside her. When Chloe opened her eyes and saw me, a look of relief washed over her face. She took a deep breath, shook me awake, and pointed to a red stain on the sheets. Ethan, how could you? You took advantage of me. You took my virginity. If I get pregnant, you have to take responsibility. I had no idea where she got the stain from, but it certainly wasn't from her. I nodded and agreed to everything. I had to see this through. I would get my revenge on both of them. It's worth noting that shortly after, her parents and brother moved to town, renting a small house near the university. They weren't trying to force her to go back home and marry anymore. I knew why. Chloe must have told them. They thought she was pregnant with my child and were banking on her marrying into our wealthy family. I ignored them, but I should have known they wouldn't stay quiet for long. They started popping up wherever I was, acting as if they were already my in-laws. Ethan, her father said one day, puffing out his chest, in our family, we respect our elders. Chloe's starting to show now. Isn't it about time our families met? We don't need a huge engagement gift. A simple $5 million will do. Her mother chimed in, pushing her son forward. And this is your brother-in-law, Cody. Cody, come say hi to Ethan. Ethan, our Cody has always been a smart boy. A fortune teller once said he was destined for great things. Right, her father added. You need to tell your parents to give him a senior management position at your company. The salary doesn't have to be crazy, just a few million a year to start. We're all family now. Cody sneered and muttered just loud enough for me to hear. He's just a dog on my sister's leash, and he's acting all high and mighty with me. At his father's urging, Cody reluctantly grunted, Hey, Ethan, this family might as well have had Gold Digger tattooed on their foreheads. Did they even know what a few million a year in salary meant? You could hire a team of Ivy League MBAs for that. My temples throbbed. Don't you dare call me that, I snapped. And if he wants a job at my company, he can apply like everyone else. But based on what I'm seeing, he might qualify for the janitorial staff. Mr. Davis's face flushed. What kind of attitude is that? Chloe is carrying a Grant heir in her belly. Everything your family has will belong to that child one day, which means it belongs to Chloe, too. Her brother is your brother. How dare you suggest he become a janitor? He jabbed a finger at me. Giving your brother-in-law a management role is non-negotiable. You keep important jobs in the family. You're too young to understand these things. I'll have to teach you. His wife added, Ethan, you apologize to us right now. Then you'll arrange for your parents to take my husband out for a nice dinner to make up for this. And they will offer Cody the executive position. Then maybe my husband will forgive you. Oh, and he only drinks Pappy Van Winkle. They wanted my parents to apologize to them and buy them a bottle of Pappy? I burst out laughing. Are you kidding me? My parents will never meet you. Now get out of my sight before I do something I won't regret. Mr. Davis's face turned purple. Is that how you talk to your future father-in-law? Where I come from, a son-in-law brings expensive gifts and gets on his knees to his wife's father. You have no manners. But I'll let that slide. Cody getting that job is not up for debate. If you don't do it, I'll have to teach you a lesson on your father's behalf. I stared at him. Was he threatening to hit me? Who gave these people their confidence? Like father, like daughter. Neither of them could understand a simple no. How did I ever put up with this? It was clear that the pregnancy had given him a new sense of entitlement. He'd completely forgotten the last time he tried to throw his weight around. I've been way too nice to you people, I said, my voice dangerously low. You want to hit me? Go ahead. I'm in a hurry. But I wonder if you can afford the consequences. That seemed to trigger a bad memory. All three of them took a simultaneous step back. Mr. Davis's bluster vanished. Ethan, son, I was just joking. Why would I hit my own son-in-law? Your parents are important people. I know they raised you right. But about Cody's job, really, it's just common sense. You have to pay someone anyway, so why not keep in the family? I sneered. Don't you want a mirror? You know what a degenerate he is. He's not fit to shine my shoes. Mr. Davis's anger flared again. You're being unreasonable. It looks like I'll have to have a chat with your parents about how they raised you. These people would never learn. They had to hit a brick wall at full speed. Go ahead. I'm not your daddy. You don't need to ask my permission. I scoffed and walked away. Did they really think they could just waltz in and meet my parents? I couldn't believe it, but they actually tried. That evening, my dad sent me a video clip with a simple message. Handle this. The moment I opened it, my blood boiled. The video showed our company's lobby. The front desk receptionist was politely trying to handle the Davis family when Cody suddenly snuck up behind her and started touching her. He put his hand on her lower back, sliding it down. The young woman screamed and tried to get away, but Cody slapped her. My brother-in-law is Ethan Grant, your boss's son, he yelled. You try to run from me again, and I'll have him fire you. The poor girl was terrified, backing into a corner. Mr. Davis leered at her. Hey now, girlie. You got some wide hips on you. Good for birthing sons. Why don't you just give my Cody a chance? If you're lucky enough to give us a grandson, I'll even let you marry into the Davis family. Mrs. Davis added her 2 cents. I don't much like the look of you, but if Cody wants you, I won't stand in his way. But if you join our family, you'll have to stop dressing like such a tramp. Security guards quickly arrived and restrained the 3 of them. Another manager came and stood in front of the traumatized receptionist. What do you think you're doing? Don't move. I've already called the police. The police station was just down the street. Officers arrived within minutes, reviewed the security footage, and slapped handcuffs on Cody. Mr. Davis flew into a rage. Do you know who he is? He's the brother-in-law of the Grant family heir. Let him go right now, or you'll be sorry. The officers ignored him completely. Mrs. Davis, seeing her precious son being arrested, tried to grab the receptionist. It's all that little hussy's fault. She dressed like that on purpose. She's just a gold digger trying to seduce our Cody. You should arrest her. The video ended. I closed my eyes and took a deep, steadying breath. Some people are just trash, and trash needs to be taken out. I made a phone call. I have a job for you. The rest fell into place perfectly. Cody was released from the station after signing a formal apology. A few days later, he accidentally met some new friends who saw his potential and offered to show him how to make some real money. At first, he won, but as the stakes got higher, the losses mounted. Soon, he lost all his winnings and then some. He was kicked out broke, but a gambler never quits. His father was a degenerate, and Cody was even worse. A day without a bet was like a day without air. But unlike his father, Cody was lucky. His new friends were more than happy to teach him how to take out high-interest payday loans online using just his ID. Suddenly, Cody was flush with cash again. He wasn't just gambling. He was sporting a thick gold chain and staying out all night at private poker games. He was set up to lose from the start. The debt piled up. One day, Cody discovered that every online lender and back-alley loan shark had cut him off. He had no money to gamble and no money to pay his debts. He holed up in his room, hiding. It wasn't long before the debt collectors came knocking. At first, Mr. Davis was defiant, even getting into a shoving match with them. The collectors just issued a warning and left. A few days later, when Cody went out to buy groceries, a windowless van ran a red light and clipped him, breaking his leg. That same week, Mr. Davis was on his way to a mahjong game when several men threw a sack over his head and beat him senseless. The message was clear: pay up. He wanted to call the police, but he had no proof it was the loan company. And besides, he didn't have the money anyway. Chloe, unable to watch her family get torn apart, came to me. "Ethan, that's my brother. I'm carrying your child. For the sake of our baby, please help him. I'll do anything. I'll even go with you to meet your parents." Her brother. What did he have to do with me? And when did I ever say I wanted her to meet my parents? When I gave her the silent treatment, she went to Kyle in desperation. "My brother is the future of our family," she begged him. "Please, you have to help him." Kyle, being the selfish prick he was, refused immediately. "He's a gambling addict, just like your father. If I were you, I'd cut ties with that entire family. They're all poison." Hearing her family insulted, Chloe, for the first time, turned on Kyle. "How can you say that? They're the ones who raised me. My brother is my own flesh and blood. If you love me, you have to love all of me, and that includes my family." She played her trump card. "I'm telling you right now, if you don't help my brother, I'll get an abortion. This is a Miller baby, after all, and you can forget about ever seeing a dime of the Grant family's money." That terrified Kyle. He ran to his father for advice. Robert Miller wanted to tell his son to dump her, but the thought of a grandson and a potential billion-dollar inheritance was too tempting. He gritted his teeth and scraped together what money he could pay off Cody's debts. But the interest on those loans was astronomical. It was a hole they could never fill. Soon, Miller's own finances were drained dry. After the incident at my family's company, the DeVises had steered clear of me. But they had no idea I had them under constant surveillance. I knew their every move. Seeing that Kyle couldn't cough up any more cash, Mr. Davis started treating him with contempt. Kyle and his father had to find another way to get money. Meanwhile, my company with Zoe was thriving. Thanks to her revolutionary battery management software, we signed licensing deals with several major EV manufacturers. For every car they sold, we received a royalty. With that kind of backing, our company's valuation skyrocketed. I suddenly had a massive amount of liquid capital. Using my knowledge from my past life, I acquired a promising gaming studio. I had Robert Miller transferred to the new company and appointed him CFO. And I had a professional security team watching him around the clock. During this time, I made sure Kyle's financial troubles got worse. To help the Davis family, he started taking out his own payday loans. But those loans are a devil's bargain. Once you're in, it's nearly impossible to get out. His fate mirrored Cody's. The collectors started getting aggressive. Red paint was splashed on the Millers' front door. Their relatives started getting harassing phone calls. Robert Miller was miserable. He was berated by his family daily and couldn't sleep at night. He started drinking heavily. His only hope was that his grandson would be born and secure their future. But to his growing despair, I continued to completely ignore Chloe and her pregnancy. My parents were even more aloof. They never once visited her or sent so much as a baby gift. It was clear they had no intention of acknowledging this child. This was not the plan. Miller had never wanted to do anything illegal. Why risk prison when you could just inherit a fortune? But the Grant family's indifference to the baby left him with no other choice. One afternoon, Miller got another threatening call from a debt collector. That same day, I arranged for the gaming studio to close early. Not even a skeleton crew was left on duty. As dusk fell, a shadowy figure slipped into the empty office building. Robert Miller disabled the power to the security room and crept into the finance office. As he pulled a confidential financial report from a filing cabinet, a USB drive fell out from between the pages. Miller froze. He recognized it. The head of development had told him it contained the game's source code, the company's most valuable asset, something that could never, under any circumstances, be leaked. He hesitated for a moment, then slid the financial report back into the drawer. He went to his own desk, copied the contents of the USB drive onto his computer, and then transferred them to a blank drive of his own. With the drive containing our multi-million-dollar source code in his pocket, he crept downstairs, planning his escape. Just as he reached the main lobby, he heard the wail of police sirens. Robert Miller was arrested on the spot, caught red-handed. Theft of intellectual property, with a valuation in the tens of millions. He was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. I felt a profound sense of relief. A piece of my past had been avenged. It was like eating ice cream on a hot summer day, a deep, satisfying coolness spreading through me. Another 6 months passed. When Kyle heard his father had been arrested, he ran to Chloe. And Chloe, thinking she had me right where she wanted me, came to me with her demands. You get Kyle's father released immediately. He's my uncle. So you lost a little data. What's the big deal? Just have your programmers write some more. I watched her performance and said coldly, a little data? That little data is worth $30 million. That's more than enough to buy your life a few times over. Chloe's eyes widened. She had no idea a string of code could be worth so much. A greedy light flickered in her eyes. What's yours is mine, isn't it? I'm carrying your son. Everything your family has will be his one day. Now, I'm ordering you to get Kyle's father released, and then you're going to give me a copy of that data. The nerve of this woman. My son? Are you sure about that? I asked, a slow smile spreading across my face. A flash of panic crossed Chloe's face. Did I know something? She stammered an excuse and fled. Her guilty conscience kept her away for a while. I enjoyed the peace until the day her baby was born. The entire Davis clan showed up at my door, holding a baby. Their arrogance was off the charts. It's a boy, her father announced. A Grant heir. I think it's time we discuss the wedding, don't you? I laughed. Don't be stupid. That's not my kid. It's Kyle's. You really thought I'd be your meal ticket? You must be insane. Chloe's face turned ashen. What are you talking about? This child is yours. We have the video from the hotel. You said you'd take responsibility. She added, her voice rising in panic. And you took advantage of me when I was unconscious. I can sue you for assault. A video? An AI-generated deep fake, to be precise. I smirked. That cheap fake you cooked up? No one would believe that. Stop embarrassing yourself. Chloe's face drained of all color. She swayed, her voice a desperate whisper. You knew? You knew all along? You were just playing with me, watching me like I was some kind of circus animal. How could you be so cruel? Even now, it was my fault. She and her accomplices had conspired to steal my family's fortune, and I was the cruel one. I couldn't be bothered to respond. Her father, however, couldn't handle the shock. He had just heard, with his own ears, that the baby was Kyle's. His dream of a golden parachute had just gone up in flames. He lunged at Chloe, his fists flying. You worthless piece of trash, he screamed, kicking her as she lay on the ground. You had a rich boy wrapped around your finger, and you threw it all away for that loser Kyle. Now you're used goods with a bastard child. You're worthless. I'll kill you. Chloe had just given birth. She was too weak to even defend herself. Within moments, her face was a bloody mess. Her mother stood by, watching without emotion. Well, that's it then, she said flatly. Old man Hemlock was going to give us $20,000. Now, with a baby, we'll be lucky to get 5. Damaged goods. Hit her harder. She deserves it for being such a slut. Chloe lay on the floor, sobbing. Her father, breathing heavily, finally stopped. Our only hope is that loser Kyle. We'll see how much he's willing to pay for his son. Unfortunately for him, he was about to be disappointed. I had someone show them a video I'd asked the loan sharks to record for me. It showed Kyle being beaten mercilessly. When it was clear he could never repay his debts, he was sold to a human trafficking ring in Southeast Asia. The video showed him in a squalid compound, being brutalized by a guard. He was a broken man. After watching the video, the Davis family fell silent. Everyone knew what those places were. It was a one-way ticket. He was as good as dead. They knew this was my doing, my final warning to them. Chloe's eyes were vacant, her mind clearly fractured. No, that's not real. It's fake. It's AI, right? Her golden ticket was gone. Kyle was gone. Kyle's father was in prison. There was no one left to bail them out. A murderous rage filled Mr. Davis's eyes. He lunged forward, snatched the baby from his wife's arms, and slammed it onto the tile floor. It happened so fast, no one could react. No one could stop him. By the time the horror of the moment registered, it was too late. Chloe crawled to the child's body, cradling it in her arms, wailing its name over and over. The police had to pull her away. Her father was taken into custody. Chloe wandered away in a daze, muttering to herself, her sanity clearly shattered. After that day, I never saw Chloe Davis again. I only read a small news brief online a few months later. A fire in a poor, rural town in Appalachia. A family of 3 and a disabled man who had recently moved in with them were all killed in the blaze. Years later, Zoe and I got married. The company we built together grew into an empire. We had more money than we could spend in 10 lifetimes. But there was one last loose end. On the day Robert Miller was released from prison, I went to see him. I handed him a file containing a picture of his son's mangled body from the trafficking camp and a copy of his grandson's death certificate. "Mr. Miller," I said, "it's a shame your family line has ended. But you're out now. Maybe you can start a new one." He looked at the file, and a terrible, guttural sob escaped his lips. Then, he turned and ran directly into the path of a speeding truck. I looked up at the clear blue sky, a sense of profound peace settling over me. The ghosts of my past were finally laid to rest. My future was bright, and it was waiting for me.